Well, welcome to the Forex Fortress. Yes, that's it. All right, a little bit more difficult to say that, but wanted to do a quick rundown of what I look at on a weekly basis, or maybe even on a daily basis for Forex. And of course, if you're interested in this sort of content, definitely let me know in the comment section below. If you're not interested, then I guess don't, or let me know that you're not interested if you made it this far. And so we'll start right there. And this is going to be a relatively short video, just kind of going over kind of like the daily scanner here. So with that in mind, I always like to start off with Dixie to kind of give the bias on direction for at least a daily and weekly, of which bias on the daily right now is going to be a little bit of downside, as we do see the breakdown below that critical $93.50 level. Now, long term, of course, it is important to reflect upon this area right here being a major massive bottoming area, but that would imply, obviously, that on a daily and weekly, we probably do come down a little bit lower, somewhere around the $92 to $92.50 region right here, of which very long term, I'm talking like 3 to 5 years out in advance, I'd actually be quite bullish on this, but for right now, short term is bearish. And if we go down to the extremely low term timeframes, which I typically don't do, I actually would be bullish on this. So if I'm going to be looking at the major US dollar pairs here, then what I'd typically be looking at is how it's going to be reacting in the short term and in the long term, which I basically look at as a daily right now. So to define a little bit of terms here. So on the very short term, I'd actually be looking for most US dollar pairs to be going down a bit, and on the medium term timeframes and the higher term timeframes, likely up. So with that sort of bias in mind, let's go through the usual scanner right here. We'll start off with Aussie dollar, and Aussie dollar short term down already kind of hit the level that I'd be looking for, I guess. Maybe a little bit lower than that, towards about 72, or if things get a little more crazy, let's go down to the 4 hour, wherever the 21 is. Yeah, that'd be right around about, or right below 72, actually at 71.9. I would be looking for a move down there, very likely a bounce after that. And then of course, going over here to a daily and looking a little bit more long term, I would be looking for things to bounce off that level. So short term, a little bit down, daily likely does bounce off that region. And then of course, looking at the weekly as well, I would be looking for this one to actually pop up a little bit further north towards around 73 cents over the next week or two. Going down the list here, what else do we got? We got Canadian dollar right there on the very short-term timeframes. What do we see? A little bit toppy here in the very short-term timeframes. Probably does play out a move down towards around 76 cents. I'm curious where the 4 hour 21 is as well. Yeah, somewhere around here, right around, right below about 76 cents, anywhere between about 75.9 and 76 even. Be looking for likely a pullback back down there, and then likely does bounce again as well, as this one does look a little bit tired up here, as momentum also just turn and shift against it. I don't really care that much for Stokes, by the way, on Forex. If you're familiar with me from my cryptocurrency channel, I do quite like it there. On Forex, though, not really. And 4 hour RSI is looking a little bit like it wants to pull back as well, although long term is rather healthy. And then, of course, going over here to a daily, I would be looking for things to get picked up off those lower levels. Again, anywhere just slightly below about 76 cents, and probably does give another try higher later this week towards 76.5. We'll call it, anywhere around here. Let's put on the drawing tools right here, and I do have the last prior high kind of marked off. I'm guessing this was from a weekly. Yes, indeed it is. Also the 200 exponential average as well, and yeah, that's 76.5. So that's where I would be looking for sometime later this week. Probably does test up there and likely plays out a range for the week to come. What else do we got? Moving down nice and quickly, euro dollar right here. What do we see? More or less probably the same. Short term, likely a little bit of downside displeasures here as well. Probably back down somewhere around 117.8 region. Let me go to the 4 hour and see where that is. Yeah, it's right around the 21 and 200 simple, of which I kind of be looking at this as a nice, as a nice little short term pivot. As long as this area does hold, I am looking for things to bounce. Well, obviously bounce off this area if it fucking holds. No shit. My point is that if it breaks, if we do see a 2 hour or 4 hour closure below this region, I would be looking for much further downside, all the way down to about 117.5 region back down here. For now, though, I would be looking for a bounce off this current level that we're looking at, and throughout the rest of the week, I would be looking for a range to be formed between about there and 119 to the upside, of which I would be looking for perhaps a short-term pullback around there as well. So again, short-term, a little bit of downside, medium, and kind of throughout the week, I'd be looking for it to test a little bit more upside on top of that. Pound dollar, what do we see on the very short-term timeframes? Looking at the hourly right here, short-term downside looking for about just below 130-ish region on the hourly. Probably does try a little bit of a bouncy bounce there. That's just going to be the 4 hour 21 and 200 simple. So I'd be looking at this as a pivot. And basically, we're seeing like the same chart everywhere that you look around. And this is kind of why I do like to look at everything, together, I suppose, as they should naturally agree with each other. And when you do see bifurcation between all these major things, it's usually a signal that something else is going on, and it's maybe time to be watching rather than trading. But in this case right here, yeah, I'd be looking for a little bit of short-term downside as well, and then likely does bounce off this region once again. And then on the daily and weekly, I'd be looking for it to play out a range, probably back up towards this blue box territory right here, anywhere between about 131 and 131.5, as daily does still look more or less healthy as far as I'm concerned. Looking at the weekly, we do see the same thing, also playing out some hidden bullish divergence here too. Or was that regular bullish divergence? No, that's, nope, that's actually no, or do we have divergence there? Is this a low right there? I would actually consider this a low, so yeah, but again, you know, that would only be kind of a muted response, yeah, back around the 200 exponential moving average, somewhere right around 131 to 131.5 region. If that area does break to the upside, then hey, we could actually call a breakout and start to target moves much higher. But for right now, I'd really be focusing on the short-term time frame moves, mostly because when you get a little bit too high-term time frame on Forex, it becomes just unrelatable. Because I mean, realistically, the Forex land is where I actually do like to trade short-term time frames, like an hourly, and even below. I trade all the way down to like a 5-minute on this shit, and it's fine actually. Hourly right here, what do we see? This one's a little bit different actually on yen dollar. I'd probably be looking for this one to actually bounce off of its current level. Looking at a 4-hour as well. Do we see the same thing? Kind of the same, kind of not the same. I would massively change around my bias though. Anywhere below 94.5. Anywhere below 94.5. And yes, I would get bearish on this one, looking for a major, massive move all the way back down towards 94 and about a quarter. It looks like somewhere back down around this base right here. Now, I don't necessarily think that that's what's happening right now. The daily does look more or less healthy to me. This is an uptrend, and this does look long-term very constructive coming out of this base that's been built ever since, Jesus Christ, been going back to July, August of 2016. So on a weekly schedule, you know, I'd probably be looking for a little bit more upside testing as well. But this one is kind of the most different chart that I've seen thus far in comparison to the other ones that we just looked at. But again, you know, short term, a little bit of downside, maybe does test back down, like I said, towards about 94.5. If it does want to test a little bit further down, but well, we already kind of got that there this weekend. So, or sorry, this week. So if we are looking for that, that actually already did happen. You know what? So I take that back. This one would be the outlier here. I would be looking for this one to test a little bit upwards and onwards sooner rather than later if this one is going to play out. Going over here to what else do we got? Come on, I gotta have some more. Is that it? Oh, I got Swiss franc and dollar. Swiss franc dollar, I'd be looking for this one to come back down towards 109.5, and probably does bounce there as well. Daily looks like it wants to have a try up later this week towards about 110.5 region. Weekly, same thing as well. Actually, weekly looks pretty damn good here for, oh yeah, actually weekly looks really, really good here. But again, you know, very, 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 very short term downside. Yes, probably does bounce there. And then I'd look for it to probably test back up towards 110.5 or sorry, is that 110? Yeah, it's 110.5. Yeah, okay, I'm reading my numbers properly today. I have a little bit of dyslexia going on if you haven't noticed. But yeah, I would be looking for that area to get tested probably sometime later this week if if the range does pull through, and then I want to come back after that and reanalysize it. So I think that's going to do it for this video. Again, very, very short and sweet. I realize that this is actually below 10 minutes, so I'm very proud of that. I'm actually quite proud of that. Please let me know what you liked about this, what you didn't like about this. If you just want to say fuck you, Crown, then go ahead and do that too. It's all good. And perhaps I'll keep on doing these videos, perhaps not. But at the end of the day, I would like to wish you the best, and until next time, take care.